Today let's talk about Italian power metal band Seventh Seal. They formed in 1996 and recorded 2 demos in 97 and 99. In 2000 their first attempt to get an album together failed due to record company problems. They focused a while on playing live shows in Italy, for example supporting Eldritch and White Skull. Then in 2003 they made a second attempt to record their debut album with a new label, Steelheart Records.
It's time.
The Black Dragon's Eyes included 8 of their own songs and 2 covers, Thundersteel by Riot and I'm Alive by Halloween. The band consisted of lead guitarist Francesco Fanciullotti, who wrote all the songs, singer Chiara Lucci, second guitarist Pasquale Bianco, Andrea Mattio on bass and Mark Napolitano on drums.
Once in a dream of silly ocean. Once in a dream of silver light. I feel the black dragon's heart.
They sound really great, with fast, furious rhythms. There is a lot of melody in the power metal of Seventh Seal, and you won't be surprised that their main influences come from bands like Iron Maiden, Halloween, Blind Guardian. 50 minutes of great power metal.
The Black Dragon's Eyes sounds remarkably lively, and that's mostly owed to singer Chiara Lucci. Loud, virtuosely and powerful, like Kimberly Goss meets Lana Lane, she makes the music rather memorable, even if the Riot and Halloween covers were unnecessary.
The first album of a German metal band from Italy. The female vocals of Chiara Lucci have both transparency and power. This should have been released in the early 90s.
The quintet goes straight for it and delivers really good songs. A mixture of new power metal and 80s epic passages. They have learned their lessons well. The twin guitarists Bianco and Fanciullotti fire one heavy riff after the next at you. Seventh Seal are a really positive surprise.
When an Italian band put out fantasy metal in the early 2000s, it was usually drowning in keyboards, following the trend set by successful countryman Rhapsody. Seventh Seal decided they would not do that. They trusted the 80s basic values of metal: guitar, bass, drums, and a shouter who didn't need backing by choirs. And so far, they avoided a lot of the cheesiness that is associated with fantasy metal. Chiara didn't do angelic voices either. She was a metal singer rather inspired by Michael Kiske or Bruce Dickinson. The result was a very honest album that is still fun to play 20 years later. 2004, Steelheart Records released a compilation entitled A Tribute to the Glory of 80s Metal, with a lot of cover songs which included 2 tracks by Seventh Seal. That was the first time I listened to the band, and I didn't hesitate to get their album then. 2006 the band started recording their second album, The Sacred Test, which was released 2 years later on a label called My Graveyard Productions, who had a few good bands like Scanners, Dark Quarterer and Strana Officina under contract, but limited budgets. The cover of The Sacred Test looks like a first draft, not the final version. Since competitors like Skylark could sell their records with stunning fantasy artwork, I think Seventh Seal didn't stand much of a chance in the record shops. Still, their music was strong. Let's hear an example.
Oh God, I still got so many questions. I don't know that you're not ready to die. All I want is to see your face, but not for a second that you're not alive. So I stepped for a respite, playing a game of chess with me. The condition is I leave, as long as I resist the seventh seal. Morning silence is breaking the sky. The seventh seal. Southern angels are dreaming and taking our lives.
Like the first album, it was produced by Frank Andiver, who is mostly known as a musician. I once did an interview with his band Wonderland, but he also played for Shadows of Steel and Labyrinth. The sound is again not big, not cheap, but solid medium quality. The second album tries more guitar solos than the first. It's technically a bit more ambitious, also with its vocal arrangements, and it tries a modest use of keyboards. Finishing with a cover of Dio's Holy Diver, it's a well-done metal album. Yet the Sacred Test didn't bring much success, and in 2009 the band split. 10 years later, original members Chiara Lucci and Pasquale Bianco found 3 new guys to revive Seventh Seal. However, without the main songwriter Francesco and having only very few gigs to play during Corona times, it's too early to say if there is any potential for continuation with a new album. But come back or not, I can definitely recommend to check out the 2 old albums of the band. See you next time.